or even my garbage disposal. I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
This is Adam Carriker on the ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, first and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
Welcome, everybody, to Adam Carriker on the ticket. All right, be honest. How many of you are at work right now, and how many of you took the day off? Me and Jake, we're here grinding. I don't really consider this work. I get to watch sports and talk about them. How much better could my life be? All right. That day, that is the national holiday known as the Super Bowl Sunday, took place yesterday. The most missed day of work is taking place today. No judgment, as long as you're tuning in. That's all that matters to me. I'm just going to be honest with you. All right, now, let me shock you with this. Loaded show. Tony White, UCLA update, Super Bowl talk, Husker women's basketball takes down number 2 Iowa, all sorts of thoughts on all of the above. Kyle Vanden Bosch, a guy I grew up watching, okay, is going to be joining me at 12:30 today. If you've got nothing better to do, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Also, check out the Carriker Chronicles YouTube page. Actually just recorded an interview this morning with Keona Wilhite, going to go out tomorrow on Tuesday, so check out the Carriker Chronicles YouTube page. Check out all things 93.7 The Ticket. Check out their website, check out the YouTube page, check out the Twitter, check out the Facebook. Check it all out, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and as always, the people segment, the last 10 minutes of this show. Call or text 402-464-5685. I should warn you, at some point, there's going to be a smidge of Taylor Swift talk. At some point, a smidge of Caitlin Clark talk. But first, I'm just going to brag, because I've already got my wife's Valentine's Day. This isn't an ad. I actually heard the ad as I was waiting to come on air, okay, about the Sutter Heyman Jewelers. Again, not an ad. They're not a sponsor of mine. But I'm going to tell you right now, I've heard nothing but great things, but I'm going to tell you right now, I was getting my wife's Christmas present, and while I was at it, I went ahead and got her Valentine's Day gift a couple of months ago. So I couldn't be happier. And if you are a husband or a boyfriend who has not yet done so and you're waiting till the wire, be jealous. It's okay. It's the one year I finally did it in advance, and I'm not that guy running somewhere last minute trying to get the perfect gift. All right. Real quick on the Super Bowl, but I'm going to circle back to it, okay, because I want to start out with Husker women's basketball, the biggest game of the day on Sunday, when the women's basketball team took down Iowa. That was the biggest game of the day yesterday, not that other football game. I want to get to that, okay. Also, Tony White, going to be staying here at Nebraska. We know his name. His name was at least in the conversation for that UCLA head coaching job for his alma mater. All right, UCLA, if you hadn't heard, has hired Deshaun Foster, okay, as their head coach. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm just going to give some real quick thoughts on the Super Bowl that I'll circle back at the end of this segment because I want to get to some of those other things first. The Kansas City Chiefs. Here's what I take away. I take away that college football is going to be more and more like the NFL every day, from the expanded playoffs to NIL, which is like paying an NFL player, to the transfer portal, which is free agency in the NFL. It's going to be so much like the NFL going forward, and it's only going to be more and more like it in the future. Okay? You look at the Chiefs. You look at the Patriots, because the Chiefs' model is very similar to the Patriots. You get a really good head coach. That guy drafts the right quarterback, and then you can do it various ways after that. The Patriots won with great defense early on under Tom Brady. The Chiefs just won yesterday with a great defense. Okay, there was at times this year they looked awful in the regular season. By the way, more teams in the college football playoff allow for more interest from more schools. It also devalues many of the college football championship games, the conference title games. It devalues rivalry games at the end of the year, much like the NFL. There's pros and cons. Some things are more interesting, some things are less interesting, but the Chiefs won because they have the right head coach who drafted the right quarterback and with defense. Now, in the past, they had won with explosive playmakers on offense and not such a great defense. I don't know that Tom Brady ever had a plethora of great weapons. He had Randy Moss for a year, and Gronkowski probably was his biggest long-term weapon. Hernandez for a little bit before all that stuff happened. Edelman, Welker came and went, had some really good careers, to be clear. But it's not like he had just a plethora of weapons year after year after year after year. They won with Belichick. Chiefs won with Reed. They won with Brady. Chiefs win with Mahomes. A lot of the Patriots teams, especially early on, won with defense. Yesterday, they won with defense. Getting the right head coach, getting the right quarterback, and then getting pieces around him, which can be different type pieces from year to year. That's how you win championships in the Super Bowl, in the NFL in the Super Bowl. And it's been proven with multiple franchises over multiple years now. It's going to be very similar in college. The only difference is it's much easier for players and quarterbacks to come and go. So that's the unique thing about college football is the NFL, you're locked in for a duration of your contract, okay, for the most part. College football, it's a little easier to come and go. Those are my quick thoughts on the Super Bowl. We'll come back to that a little bit later. But UCLA has a new head coach. Why do Nebraska fans care about that? We don't, except it means they're leaving our defensive coordinator alone, right? UCLA has hired Deshaun Foster. I grew up watching this guy as a running back. He's in the UCLA Hall of Fame. He's worked as an assistant coach there since 2017 as the running backs coach. He came in with Chip Kelly's initial staff. He was actually hired earlier this offseason as the Raiders running backs coach. He played 7 years in the NFL, but now he is UCLA's head coach as well. So congratulations to him. I couldn't be happier to hear that he got the job because it meant Tony White didn't. And I want Tony White to do great things, but it means he's still here at Nebraska going to do great things. So that was the big thing that I took away from that. All right, let's go to the actual biggest game from yesterday on Sunday. All right, Nebraska women's basketball upsets number 2 Iowa 82-79 after being down by 14 points at one point in the game. I do want to give a quick shout out to the men's basketball team. Okay, as they clobbered Michigan 79-59 earlier in the weekend on Saturday. I could have swore at one point the score was 41-13. I can't remember if that's accurate, but it seems to be correct. So congrats to them, moving closer to the NCAA tournament. Let's get back. Oh, and this is why another reason I brought that up. The men's basketball team is 15-1 at home, 1-7 on the road. Just crazy to me. But I want to get back to the women's game now. Caitlin Clark, all right, she's done something no women's basketball player's ever done: 3,000 points and 1,000 assists. First woman to ever do that in women's college basketball. Did not break the scoring record on Sunday. Going to have to wait a little bit longer to do that. Kudos to the Huskers defense on that. And here's something I thought was interesting. Caitlin Clark has never played an entire fourth quarter without scoring a single point before Iowa's lost to the Big Red on Sunday. There's been some pretty cool things happen during basketball this year. I'm sure you're all aware. From the men upsetting Purdue January 9th, number 1 in the nation. Then they upset number 6, Wisconsin, February 1st. And then the ladies upset number 2, Iowa, yesterday. Husker fans have had the opportunity to rightfully storm the court 3 times this offseason. By the way, I want to congratulate Caitlin on avoiding all fan contact. Okay, she was not taken out by any fans, so congratulations on completing that endeavor. All right, I thought that was pretty important of note. Now, post-game. Well, let's go back to the game a little bit. The resiliency, the toughness, the mental toughness that the Husker women's basketball team showed when they were down by 14 points. That's a large margin, as we all know, against a team that's heavily favored. And really, if it's outside of Nebraska fans, people were really just tuning in to see if Caitlin was going to break the record. And all of a sudden, here comes Nebraska. Now, you can argue they were trying to make it so Caitlin broke the record at home. Couldn't care less. The fact is we had more points than them, so we won the game, and that's all that matters. Okay? Now, after the game, there was some shenanigans. Iowa's head coach was not thrilled. So the women were celebrating on the court. Okay? The ladies basketball team, after a big win at home, rightfully so. So it took them a while to get off the court. They go to do the press conference. Iowa still hasn't come out of the locker room. They still haven't gone to do the press conference. Okay? So this is actually via Mitch Sherman. Okay? Actual full context is this. Nebraska players took an extended time to get off the court because of the celebration. When they showed up for the press conference, Iowa still had not come out of the locker room. The Nebraska SID said when the Huskers started that he would shuffle the order, remove Nebraska from the room if needed to get Iowa in. Then Iowa appeared. Iowa's coach Bludder threw a fit and never came back. As you may have heard the audio of her being rather irate in the background. Okay. She could be heard saying, and I quote, "This is BS," end quote, although it wasn't BS, but you can figure out, "I've got a flight to catch. This is not Big Ten protocol." That's actually the end of the quote. Worried about her flight, I guess, since it's a chartered flight and they wait for you. But it was interesting because there was other things throughout the game, that after the game, and somebody tweeted me, see if I can find this, "I need a 'This is not Big Ten protocol' shirt," sent to me immediately, Adam. I thought that was pretty funny. That would be a good shirt that somebody should make. And then I wanted to mention this tweet from Jazz Shelley on air because she made a hand gesture during the game. I think some people took it the wrong way, so she wanted to clear the air. She said, just to clear the air, this was not a gesture at Caitlin or Iowa. I have the utmost respect for that program. This is how we signal our face guard defense. So if there was any questions about that, that's been cleared up by Jazz herself. The post-game shenanigans afterwards, how long did they take to come out of the locker room if Nebraska still got to the press conference before you? And then, sometimes you just got to have some awareness. I'm yelling, I'm screaming. Other people in the world might be able to hear me. There might be a microphone near the room with the press conference in it. Maybe I should think about that before I start screaming and swearing and complaining about music when I don't like it at certain times in the game, etc., etc. Oh, man, I just got sent a funny text. I tend to get a lot of text during the show, so I enjoy that. I'm just going to read it. Caitlin Clark must have eaten some bad corn before the game. Hashtag Iowa has bad corn. That is from a buddy of mine. But anyways, I digress. Shout out to the Husker women's basketball team. They played a great game. Immensely enjoyed watching it. All right, let's talk a little bit of Super Bowl, a little bit of NFL football, shall we? Now, I saw some tweets throughout the year, but after the game, about how the NFL is scripted, is basically just like WWE. Anytime I see that from people who played in the NFL, especially for an extended period of time, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I remember going through two-a-days, back when you could do those. I remember feeling like it was so hot and so humid that the dogs couldn't be outside. They came out and said on the radio, and I've shared this before in this show, that same afternoon, we went and had a live scrimmage in full pads. Nobody told me it was scripted. Nobody told me while I was running somebody over that it was scripted. And nobody told me, during my 20 years, I may have got ran over playing football. I may have got ran over a time or two. I'm not ashamed to admit that it was real. It was not predetermined that I was going to run over somebody or they were going to run over me, or I don't remember any of that. And as hard as the NFL is, when I was in it, I had 4 surgeries within 4 months at one point. And the doctor prescribed Vicodin. For every time I had a new surgery, they would prescribe more Vicodin. I eventually, inadvertently, got hooked on Vicodin, and I didn't realize it until I came off of it, and I was shaking. Literally shaking. I'm like, I think I'm having withdrawals from the Vicodin. And nobody told me it was scripted. When I was getting shots and I couldn't even cut my meat throughout the week because my shoulder was all beat up and it needed surgery, but I needed to play on Sunday, and I was getting shots and taking Vicodin or whatever to go play, nobody told me it was scripted. So I find that, especially when former tenured NFL players put out stuff like that, it loses credibility with me. It just comes across like I want clicks on this, and that's just my take. I could be completely and utterly wrong. I don't know what they're thinking when they put that out. I just don't buy into the scripted thing for several reasons, which I've already mentioned. All right. The Super Bowl. Harrison, I mean, this was, if you're a kicker, this was like maybe the greatest Super Bowl ever, other than the missed extra point. But Harrison Butker makes the longest Super Bowl kick in NFL history, 57 yards. Not long after, Moody, the 49ers kicker, made the then longest kick in Super Bowl history at 55 yards. We had 3 of the 7 longest kicks ever in Super Bowl history. There had been 7 made of over 50 yards. 3 of them were Sunday. Okay? Man, if you were a kicker, that was a great game. Now, admittedly, the first 3 quarters, if you're a casual fan, were not the most exciting quarters ever. The fourth quarter, overtime, especially when the defenses were tired, quite entertaining. Very entertaining, I thought. And the new overtime rules for the playoffs, much better. Now, in theory, when they said you could start a new game, they meant a new game. Like the game wasn't ending at the end of that overtime. It was just going to roll into the next quarter. Now, the game ended because Mahomes threw the touchdown pass and ended the game with the touchdown. Brock Purdy, man, this is a guy, I had so many question marks about him coming into the game. This is a guy who played really well throughout the year, who had struggled against tough opponents, who had struggled in the Niners' losses, and who hadn't looked phenomenal in their first 2 playoff games. This is a guy that I admire and I respect because I love the underdog story. Okay? I thought he looked poised, and I thought the Chiefs made great adjustments on defense throughout the game. The first 2 drives, I was like, oh my God, the 49ers look way better than the Chiefs. They're going to run them out of the building. And then they fumble on the first drive. Drive right down the field, and then they fumble. Chiefs recover. The next drive, the Niners are moving the ball. But then they had major penalties. Basically ended both their first 2 drives. None of that stuff had anything to do with Purdy. He looked really good. He looked poised. He looked good. Throughout the game, the Chiefs made adjustments. They are a really good defense. And they've looked like the best defense of any team throughout this entire playoffs. So kudos to Purdy for coming out poised, ready to go. It's tough when you're facing the best in the world on the other side, Patrick Mahomes. And then kudos to Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs coaching staff, offensively, defensively, for making adjustments. And they are lucky the 49ers got no points those first 2 drives. The 49ers were up 10-0 at one point. It could have easily been 13-0, 16-0, 24-0, depending on if those drives end up in field goals or touchdowns. Hey, when someone gives you an opportunity, don't complain. Take advantage. That's what the Chiefs did. All right. When you look at some of these stats, you look at Purdy, 23 of 38, 255 yards, one TD, a quarterback rating of 89.3. Look at Mahomes, 34 of 46, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. His first INT. And what was it, over 200 playoff passes? A rating of 99.3. Now, Patrick Mahomes actually led the Chiefs in rushing with 9 carries for 66 yards, average 7.3 yards per rush. Isaiah Pacheco, that dude's a beast at running back. He had a little bit of a rough day. The fumble, I mean, he really should have caught it on the pitch to start the second half. He runs hard, though. I love that dude. The Niners got the ball to Christian McCaffrey 22 times. He averaged 3.6 yards a carry. I don't think that's enough. He's the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. This is a Super Bowl. I think you got to get it to him more. In the first half of the game, they controlled the line of the scrimmage, and they didn't get the ball to him enough. And then they started the second half with, 6, 7 straight passes. And I think they should have gotten the ball to Christian McCaffrey a little bit, or a lot of bit more often than they did, honestly. You look at Mahomes, his 3rd Super Bowl title, 3rd Super Bowl MVP. Can they get 3 in a row? My son Jacob is funny. He looks at me and he goes, the Chiefs weren't even that good this year, Dad. If somebody can't beat them this year, how are they going to beat them next year when they're probably going to be a little better? Because he was with me during the regular season. I didn't declare this team dead, but I was like, man, they look bad. They look bad. Travis Kelce looks old. This team looks bad. All of a sudden in the playoffs, Travis Kelce looked like the best tight end on planet Earth, which he still might be. Patrick Mahomes did his thing. He had struggled throughout the season. Didn't even have a 2-to-1 touchdown to INT ratio, which is like the bare minimum for being a good quarterback, let alone the best on planet Earth. He looked like Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce looked like the best tight end on planet Earth. And the Chiefs' defense went from being good in the regular season to the best in the NFL throughout the playoffs. And so it was interesting. At the beginning of the playoffs, I picked the Chiefs to win in my NFL pick'em simply because I had the last pick. Like you go, the first person goes, second person, third person, fourth person, fifth person, sixth person. I had the 7th pick, which means I then had the 8th pick because the first person who had the first pick has the 14th pick because there's 14 teams. So I had picked 7 and 8, and I was like, oh, God, I don't want any of these teams, but I'll take the Chiefs because they've got Mahomes and Reed. You never know. And I'll take the Lions just because I like Dan Campbell. And that was it. I took those 2 teams for that reason. Otherwise, it's like the Dolphins and the Packers, who actually got into the second round and made it very interesting versus the Niners. That's the only reason I picked the Chiefs. Had you given me the number 1 overall pick in our NFL pick'em pool, I would have picked the Ravens. And then I probably would have picked the Niners second. And I probably would have picked the Chiefs about 7th or 8th. But it was funny. Every time a playoff game came up, I was like, I think they're going to beat the Dolphins. I think they're going to beat the Bills. I did predict they'd lose versus the Ravens. And then by the time the Super Bowl had rolled around, I'm like, the Chiefs look way better throughout the playoffs than the 49ers did, even though the 49ers, I firmly believe, have the better roster. Pure roster-wise, I think the Eagles and the 49ers have the 2 best rosters in the NFL. But I picked the Chiefs, like I said on this program last week, because they have the best player at the most important position, Patrick Mahomes, quarterback. They have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL today, if not recent history, in Steve Spagnuolo. They have a really good defense, and they have Andy Reid, who is coaching in his, 5th Super Bowl, 6th Super Bowl, who has been to 11 conference title games. And that's why I went with them, even though I thought the 49ers were top to bottom the better roster. And I'll be honest, early on, I was like, God, I was way wrong. The 49ers look way better. If they just quit handing the ball to the Chiefs, they're going to win. Well, by the time they stopped handing it to the Chiefs made adjustments. They ended up getting wins. Ended up getting the win. I'm sorry. All right. We got a couple minutes. We'll go to break. Bring on Kyle Vanden Bosch. Now, a couple of muy importante takeaways from the Super Bowl. I counted 13 Taylor Swift shots, and that was before the Chiefs were on the podium. Then I counted about 1,000 more. Actually, I didn't watch once they went to the podium, but I saw some of the clips online. So if you're a big Taylor Swift fan, you had a big day. Very, very happy. All right. Now this is the Kansas City Chiefs. 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. The first back-to-back Super Bowl champions in 20 years. Now had the Niners won, it would have been their 6th Super Bowl franchise in history. First in 29 years, which would have tied them with the most in the entire NFL with the Steelers and Patriots. Would have been the most all time. Obviously it didn't happen. Maybe next year. Okay. Now, one final thought before we go to break. And I'm going to go back to UCLA. Because Chip Kelly left the head coaching job at UCLA to become the offensive coordinator at another Big Ten school, Ohio State. Now, Bill O'Brien had a half a donut and half a cup of coffee as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He's now the head coach at Boston College. I'm telling you, we're going to see more head coaches if college football does not change and make things make sense and make it so it's not such insanity for coaches' lives. Having to recruit your roster, other rosters, having to recruit high school kids. Being a head college football coach right now is insane. You think it's any coincidence that Saban had a lot of tread on the tires before the season, then retires? Chip Kelly wants less responsibility and doesn't want to be the head coach anymore? You could argue Ohio State's a step up, but a head coach at UCLA, that's a pretty good gig. California recruiting, Big Ten conference. They need to make the college football offseason schedule make a whole lot more sense, or there's going to be a whole lot more head coaches that say, I know. Not really the topic of today. It just blew me away. We've got college head coaches going to the NFL to be coordinators. Okay. I kind of get it somewhat. I don't understand a college head coach going to another school within his conference whether you think Ohio State's a step up from UCLA or not, to going from head coach to a coordinator position. I'm telling you, you're going to see more things like this if they don't figure out the college football offseason. All right, I'll stop beating that dead horse. No, I won't. I'll hit it again at some point this offseason, but I'll stop for now, for at least the next few minutes. Don't go anywhere. After this break, Kyle Vandenbosch, one of the greatest rush-ins of the University of Nebraska ever, will be joining me here on Adam Carriker on the Ticket.
Hog Wild's giant stuffed baked potatoes are anything but basic and really hit the spot when you're craving a little comfort food. Nothing is more satisfying than a Hog Wild baked potato loaded with butter, sour cream, cheddar cheese, bacon bits, and chives. Add your choice of a Hog Wild house-smoked meat like pulled pork, chicken, or brisket for a little extra. Order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
But don't be late, we close at 8. Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you are a loved one or struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Flowers and chocolates are great for Valentine's Day. But you know what really earns you bonus points? A massage. No, not from you, but from the professionals at The Body Shop. Now is the time to purchase a gift certificate for your significant other to make sure you're the big winner this Valentine's Day. Go to thebodyshoplincoln.com and select from their variety of specific massages. Once you've purchased, you can either print out the certificate or email it to the lucky recipient. Do Valentine's Day right this year with a massage from The Body Shop at 48th and A.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home. Hey, Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. We have great Valentine's gifts in store now. And if you spend $99, we'll throw in a free bouquet of a dozen roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905 in Lincoln and Grand Island. Online at sartorheyman.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Blecker and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Blecker and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador online at prg-ne.com.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. Get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. When we're looking out for a homeowner, we're always keeping their budget in mind. Let's put numbers together and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most. For all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Adam Carriker on The Ticket. I just got a text from Kyle. I'm going to ask my man Jake, who is producing the show today, to just let me know when Kyle Vandenbosch is ready. He's going to be joining me any minute here, and I'm excited to talk about him. This is a guy, I grew up watching him. I had the opportunity to actually watch film of him, okay, when I was on opposing teams, and we'd be watching. Like, I remember one time we were watching Drew Brees and the Saints. We were getting ready to play him, and he was on the Lions, and they had just played the Lions, and Kyle was on the film, and man, that guy played with so much relentless energy and effort. I'm being told he's ready to go. Now, let me give him a proper introduction. All right, the man's about to join me as a former All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 12-year NFL vet, a second-round pick, okay? Also a scholar/male athlete of the year by 4 different publications in the year 2000, a 2-time first-team academic All-American, 3-time All-Big 12 performer, including first-team All-Big 12 in the year 2000, 3-time Lifter of the Year finalist, won the award twice, okay? And he's also the record holder for most blocked field goals in a game, 1999 versus Texas A&M, and in a season with 3 blocked field goals. Mr. Kyle Vandenbosch, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing good, and I want to start off by a little bit of a sigh of relief from Husker Nation today. Your thoughts on Tony White staying as Nebraska's defensive coordinator. And again, he was just in that conversation for UCLA's head coach. They've hired Deshaun Foster, which means he's staying. What are your thoughts on Tony White staying?
I think it's huge. I've had an opportunity to meet with him a couple of times. He's a great leader, a great coach, a great mentor. Obviously, I think as long as he's at Nebraska, he's going to be a part of other coaching searches just because of the quality of coach he is. But he and, a couple of recent additions, but I think Coach Rule has put together a great staff. I'm excited about some of the additions they have coming, but the ability to keep Coach White, have some continuity with the defense, I think it'll be huge this upcoming season.
I'm joined on the Allo Fiber VIP line by former Nebraska defensive end, rush end, as they were called back then. All right, Kyle Vandenbosch. Now, I'm sure you watched Nebraska last year. You watched the defensive line. They were the biggest question mark with so many young players coming into the season. All right, throughout the year, Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmaker, and the whole defensive line played so well. In your opinion, what helped them play so well in this 3-3-5 defense in their first year in the system?
I mean, the biggest thing for me is, having played D-line as you did, it's the ability to be disruptive, get in the backfield, make things happen. create some negative plays, but more than anything, today's game, the more you can be in the quarterback's face, be in his lap, be around his ankles, get hits, you affect the passing game. You can, I do some radio now for the Cardinals, and they're kind of a part of a rebuild right now. And, I'm a big believer in building a team from the inside out. You can make up for a lot of deficiencies on your defense if you have a solid, stout defensive line, but more importantly, disruptive defensive line. If you're not asking guys on the back end to have to cover for 3 or 4 seconds, which very few people on this planet can do, then if you're wreaking havoc up front, if again you're affecting the quarterback on almost every throw, then you do have the ability to make up for deficiencies. If you have injuries or if you have guys that are kind of learning on the fly on the back end, if you can do things up front, it really gives you the ability, and it also gives you some creativity and the ability to, disguise some things on the back end if you're not giving the quarterback time to be comfortable in the pocket.
Now, with so many of those defensive linemen and just overall starters on that defense coming back for next year, how good do you think the Black Shirts can be next season?
I think they can be great. Again, another year under Coach White's system. The ability to, I think the biggest challenge, it's not just for Nebraska, but for coaches in general, with so much roster turnover from year to year, is just finding out what players do best. I'm not a believer in a good coach doesn't come in with his system and say, this is what I do, this is what works. I'm going to plug you in and you're going to have to learn it. You have to be able to adapt to what players do well. Some players, use different alignments. They operate better in space. Some guys work better in a phone booth and in close quarters. And I think, that learning process sometimes can happen quickly, sometimes can take a number of years. And, with the college football landscape, with transfers and guys coming and going and trying to find their right fit, you don't often have the luxury of having 2-3 years to find what they do best to develop these players. But, in Nebraska's situation with so many returning players, you can really build off of what their assets are, utilize them and what they do well, put them in the right alignment so that they can go and be most effective in the scheme.
All right, as always, ladies and gentlemen, send me your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, or otherwise to 402-464-5685. Now, we've got a young quarterback room, 2 true freshmen, Dylan Raiola, Daniel Kalen. You got Heinrich Harburg coming back, who had 5 starts a year ago. So we have a total of 5 career starts in our quarterback room right now, but a lot of talent. What are your thoughts on Dylan Raiola possibly starting next year as a true freshman?
I think it's a real possibility. He's played at a high level at the high school game, has a dynamic arm, can put the ball anywhere, and, has worked with some of the top quarterback trainers in the country. So he has the knowledge. He has the experience, having played at, some big high schools, playing at a high level at some of the bigger high schools. So I think he does have that opportunity. It is tough with a true freshman, really knowing what you have. Again, the quarterback position, more than any, it just takes reps, and it's not just practice reps, it's live reps. So if he does have an opportunity, if he does get playing time, or if he does earn the starting job, it may take him some time to fill into form. Very few true freshman quarterbacks have it figured out their first season if they get the nod. So, I'm as intrigued as anybody. I know he's got a good head on his shoulders. Like I said, he's got good experience. I coach high school here in Arizona, and so I'm familiar with some of the things he did when he was playing here, and what he was able to do to lead some of his teams and playing under, some high pressure situations. So he's got all of that. But with the level of play in the Big Ten and some of the D lines he's going to face, some of the elite athletes he's going to see on the back end and coverage, teams are going to dial it up. Teams are, if he or, really with three still fairly, two true freshmen and one quarterback who doesn't have a ton of experience, you're going to have to expect some of those things and account for them early. You're going to have to, build the offense around him, establish a good run game, keep the balance in the offense so that he's able. You don't put too much on his plate, especially at the beginning.
We just got a message from Kim Kelly. She says, "Hi, Kyle. Your mom crocheted a beautiful blanket for my daughter when she was born in 2000. Still have it. Great to hear you on here." All right, keep sending in those questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or otherwise. 402-464-5685. Now, you were a 3-time Lifter of the Year finalist, a 2-time 1999-2000 winner of the award, and now you are a strength coach as well. So talk to me. I know people know it's important. Strength conditioning is important, but I feel like it's the edge that Nebraska had for so long, and I feel like it's that edge that Matt Rule is trying to get in the Huskers' corner again. Just how big a deal is strength conditioning when done the right way, in your opinion?
It's huge. I know throughout my career, both in college and the pros, my best friends, the people I spent the most time with, it's not the head coach, it's not the defensive coordinator, it's not even my position coach, it's the strength coach. And when you develop those type of relationships, you have that type of trust. And, the strength coach is there with you through the hard days, through the grind. And having an opportunity to meet Corey Campbell last spring, I sat down with him, with my boys for a little bit, talked about his vision, talked about his philosophy, talked about what he's bringing to the program. And also, one of my best friends, as I said, Ted Rath, he was one of my strength coaches in Detroit. He went on to be the head strength coach for the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. He moved on. Now he's at an even bigger role, kind of overseeing all aspects of athletic performance with the Eagles. And he was, a part of the reason I believe that the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year. It's where the foundation is established. And it's not just a matter of, getting your players bigger and stronger. Look, that's a huge piece of it. And, it's a huge piece of performance on the field. It's a huge piece of injury prevention. But the things you do in the off season, the way you grind, the way you push each other, that's where most of the team building happens. You can't just expect to show up in training camp and build that type of unity. It's the days where guys are picking each other up, pushing each other. Guys are throwing up and being encouraged to try to finish their lift, finish their workouts. That's where your team is built. In those days where you grind, the days that, the fans don't see, that's where your team is built. And, I'm a big believer in what Corey Campbell and his staff are bringing. And now, again, having another year for him to establish that trust, establish those relationships with a lot of those players in the locker room to, get the type of not only equipment, but just the type of system that he wants for the players. I think that's going to really show this fall for the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
All right, let's talk a little bit of NFL, a little bit of Super Bowl. What were your thoughts on the game yesterday, the Super Bowl game? And I'm just going to ask you, because it's been thrown out there, and I think most people were joking at first. Now some people are starting to actually kind of take it serious. So your thoughts on the game as a whole and the insane idea that the NFL might be rigged in some way, shape, or form.
All right, so I'll start with the second question. It's ridiculous, and you know that as well. Players are out there to win. Players have no part of that. Coaches are out there. This is their livelihood. Nobody's going to ever purposely not give their best effort, regardless of what situation your team is in, and certainly in a playoff game. So I guess I would like to put that to bed. We live in a world now where everybody you talk to has some sort of conspiracy theory about what's going on in the world. But I can tell you one thing: professional football, it doesn't happen. It's never happened. It's only, to my knowledge, only recently been a part of the conversation. So that's absolutely not true. The game last night, phenomenal game. It was a battle. I picked the Niners to win just because of the talented roster that they have. I mean, you've got a top 3 left tackle, you've got a top 3 tight end, you've got the best running back in the game. You've got, Deebo Samuel, in my opinion, is a top 5 receiver. You got Brandon Ayuk, who's really come out. You've got the defensive line for the Niners, who's got so much talent and disruptive, and you've got a pair of linebackers that's probably better than any tandem in the league. So I just thought it was too much talent. I'll tell you, 2 things, in my opinion, won the game for the Chiefs. Brock Purdy played a good game, and I think he put a lot of the talk of game manager to rest because he did enough to win the game. But 2 things won the game for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the Niners kicked that field goal. They left too much time on the clock. You know that in the very least that Patrick Mahomes is going to drive and get their team down to field goal range to send it to overtime, possibly win it at the end of regulation. And then when the Niners again had to settle for a field goal in overtime, I knew at that moment it wasn't enough. So there's just certain players. Look, there was elite players and elite athletes all over that field, but Patrick Mahomes is an elite competitor. He always seems to find ways to win games when it matters the most and make the plays that teams need to make. And that's exactly what he did. It was also, in my opinion, a coaching masterpiece by Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Andy Reid, just his play calling, his sequencing, the scouting and evaluation he does. Early in the game, they did like a zone read, but you knew from the snap that Mahomes fully intended to keep it, knowing that Nick Bosa's aggressiveness was going to close down the back end. And with Dre Greenlaw out of the game, there was no linebacker to scrape over the top. Got a 22-yard gain, and then in crunch time, in overtime on 4th and 1, they ran the exact same play, had the same result, picked up 7 yards. And then to the play that won the game, the Chiefs, I think they called it corn dog motion is what he called it. But you take one of your fastest players, you send him like he's running a jet sweep, he slams on the brakes and comes back and has leverage on the defense. And they scored 2 red zone touchdowns in the Super Bowl against the Eagles last year. And when it matters most, they ran the exact same play. This time it was against a zone, but they sent 2 tight ends out to kind of run a pick a little bit. And Nicole Hardeman had leverage on the cornerback and got an easy touchdown to win the Super Bowl. And coaching masterpiece, and Steve Spagnuolo has done it well for years in the league. He essentially shut down a Ravens offense that was unstoppable all season 2 weeks ago, and then just seemed to know exactly when to dial up blitzes in this game. Heated up Brock Purdy at the exact right moments, and I think that was really the big difference in the game is just the game planning and really the game flow and execution by that coaching staff.
I agree with you. I came on this show last week and I said the Niners are more talented. They have the better talent on their roster. I said I'm picking the Chiefs because of Mahomes, because they have the better defense, like output, maybe not overall talent, although they have a lot of freaking talent. And I said the coaches, and I said Steve Spagnuolo might be the best defensive coordinator in recent memory in the NFL. So a lot of similarities there. And for those who do not know, the offense on the 49ers has 4 first-team All-Pros, and then their 2 defensive ends are the number 2 overall pick in the draft, the number 3 overall pick in the draft, and then everything else that Kyle said. So I completely agree. Last couple of questions here. All right. You played for the Lions for 3 years. You were a team captain here at Nebraska, team captain in Detroit. As a guy who played for the Lions, represented that city, had the C on the chest, what did it mean to you to watch Dan Campbell and Detroit almost get to the Super Bowl, but have the season they have and make it to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, look, the Dan Campbell hiring, I think a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes hearing the way he talked, the way he wanted to run his team. But he's exactly, he represents what the city of Detroit was about. It represents what I felt about the city of Detroit when I was there. Like, nobody respects us. It's a tough city full of tough people, and that's exactly who Dan Campbell is. And he has complete buy-in from his players. And, it was fun to watch what they were able to do this season. And this is a team, as I talked about, I firmly believe you build a team from the inside out. They had one of the best offensive lines in football, and they had a really good defensive line, and they leaned on them. And to see them, win in the playoffs and see what it did for that city, to see the fans staying for, what was, over an hour after the playoff wins, and, fans crying because they had waited so long. It just felt good for the city to be rewarded in that way. And it's unfortunate because, they really played a good game when they lost, and had every opportunity to win it. And it's just sometimes circumstances don't work out the way, you hope. But I think they'll be back. The team's built to sustain. It was, again, when you're built upon physicality, that carries over year to year. Sometimes a team can be gimmicky. Sometimes you can bring in a couple of superstars and really ignite a team. But, when you're a tough team, you're built upon physical play, that will last and carry over. So it's disappointing that they weren't able to get to the Super Bowl. I think that would have been just fantastic for the city of Detroit. But at the same time, I think that they'll be back.
All right, last question I got for you. I don't know if you remember this at all. I think it was going into my second year with the Rams, so it would have been 2008. Okay, we had our first preseason game was against the Titans. You were on the Titans, but we practiced against each other for like 2-3 days that week leading up to the first preseason game. And like we happened to run by each other at one point in practice, and you had like these red contacts in. I'm just going to be honest. You look like a maniac. And I mean that in a complimentary fashion. I was like, holy crap, this dude's nuts, because we've never actually met in person, even though we've interacted via text and things like that. It's like, dude, this guy's crazy. Talk to me about, and then I watch you play. The effort was out of this world. I've never seen anyone in my life play harder than Kyle frickin' Vanden Bosch when I would watch opposing offenses, but the defensive unit of the Detroit Lions to be on the field, okay, because that's where you're at when I was first entered the league. Like, dude, you were all over the field with your effort and pursuit to the ball. But I've always wanted to ask you this. Talk to me about the red contacts. I'm curious about that.
Okay. Thanks for the nice words, first of all. But, we were in training camp, and our trainers had said that they had these new contacts that Nike made. They're really made for golfers and marketed for golfers, but it was basically like wearing sunglasses in your eyes. And then, it seems like forever ago, but there was a time where training camp was actually tough when you actually had 2 days.
Yeah, I remember.
6 hours out in the heat and the humidity and the sun. And so I just started wearing them in training camp. It was, you're not always squinting. It takes some of the glare out. And then I started wearing them for preseason games, and then, it kind of became an intimidation thing as well. And so I wore them for as long as they made them. And then even for whatever reason, Nike discontinued making the contacts. My trainer reached out to Nike and emptied out their supplies, and whatever they had left, they had sent to the team. So I had a couple years supply even after they stopped making them. But it just kind of became part of the persona, to just your point about me playing with effort. I knew what I was. I knew who I was. I was never the best athlete on the field. I was never going to overwhelm people with my strength or physicality. So I knew I had to play as hard as I could every single snap, and that would be the thing that set me apart. And then as I kind of went on in the league, it became a responsibility, and I knew that people were watching me because people said, watch this guy, watch how hard he plays. And I felt like I could never take a play off in practice. I could never take a play off in games because my teammates were watching. Other players around the league were watching. Little kids were at home were watching because their parents are telling them, watch this guy, watch him chase the ball, watch his effort down the field. And it just became, it became who I was. And then, it was never even a second thought. I couldn't take a play off. I could never trot to the ball or jog to the ball. It was just all out as long as I could, as hard as I could. And that was what I added to the team.
Well, Kyle, I certainly enjoyed watching you when I was growing up. I enjoyed actually learning from you on film as a young NFL player as well. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today, my friend.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure being with you. Thanks, Adam.
All right, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
Okay, it's time to sell the house. How do we even begin to choose from the hundreds of realtors in town?
Easy. We make a pros list.
You mean a pros and cons list?
No, just a pros list. We need someone with pro photography to showcase the house in the best possible way, pro marketing to make sure we get maximum exposure, pro negotiations so we know we get the best price.
This is one of those times where you already know the right answer, isn't it?
You know it is. Ben Bleicher and Professional Realty Group.
Contact Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Ambassador. Online at prg-ne.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual Planter Clinic at the Adams County Fairgrounds in Hastings, Nebraska, February 21st and 22nd. Landmark's Planter Clinic offers expansive equipment training and important information on new and updated technology for this planting season. Get a refresher before heading to the field on in-cab monitors, maintenance points, and options to increase your operations profits. Join us February 21st and 22nd in Hastings. Learn more and RSVP at landmarkimp.com/events.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to Oak Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Time for the people's segment. We're going to get to your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, or otherwise. You can always send them in on YouTube or 402-464-5685. All right, first one, Notorious B.I.B. Shout out for being a repeat texter. Appreciate it. Adam, are you excited at all about Husker baseball starting up this weekend? Or do we expect another so-so season? All right, ladies and gentlemen, Nebraska's baseball season starts in 3 days, 21 hours, 55 minutes, 20 seconds, 19 seconds. I'm not going to keep doing that, but you get the point. They're going to kick their season off versus Baylor. All right, on Friday, Saturday versus Texas Tech, Sunday versus Oklahoma. What are we, back in the old Big 12? That would be awesome if we were, or if it even came close to existing. And I bet the Pac-12 feels the same way. I'm excited for Husker baseball. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've done a bunch of recon on that team just yet. I know topical stuff. I'm going to dive into it as this weekend approaches, because then we're going to talk Husker women's basketball, men's basketball, softball, speedy recovery to Jordy Ball, by the way, baseball, etc. Yes, I am very, very excited. I will educate myself more as this weekend approaches. All right. Next up, text from Steven. Did the 49ers DC play too soft at the end? That's a tough question because pretty much all day, Bosa and Chase Young, for the first time all year, Chase Young is uber talented. But I kind of talked about on last Friday's show how he didn't give the best effort all year. And if you were going to run a toss, you ran it to his side because it wasn't going to work versus Bosa, but it would probably work versus him because he wasn't exploding off the ball and pursuing to the ball. He did on Sunday. He did. He played well. Bosa played like Bosa always plays. He played well. Those two guys made it so that you did not have to blitz a ton. I would give more credit, and I agree with Kyle. I wonder if he was listening to the beginning of the show. It seemed like he echoed a lot of the thoughts I had to say. He's a busy guy. I guarantee he wasn't listening. But here's what I'll tell you. We did agree on a lot of things, okay? I'm going to agree with him, and I think it was more Andy Reid setting up plays throughout the game. Think of the throwback pass from Mike Stuntz to Eric Crouch against number 1 Oklahoma in 2001 at Memorial Stadium. It's been shown. They set up that game multiple ways and multiple plays throughout that game. They set up that play. Andy Reid did the same exact thing throughout the Super Bowl. And when it mattered the most, the plays were set up, they were ready to go, and you got a guy named Patrick Mahomes to execute it. Now, I'm a guy who's always going to err towards blitzing more, but the Niners have two. When Chase Young's firing off the ball, two of the best on planet Earth. And they were both playing well Saturday. To me, it was more good by Kansas City Chiefs, great by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, than it was anything the 49ers did. I'm sure they'll go back, watch the film, and find things they think they could have done better, and I'm sure there always is. Because if you're a competitor, that's how you always feel. But I think it was more good Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes than anything else. All right, next question. So there's no name attached with this. I don't think they want their number put out there. So I'll just read the text. Taylor Swift or Blake Lively? Now, I'm a married man. My wife listens to the show. I'll answer it honestly. Blake Lively. It's not even close. I mean, are you kidding me? No disrespect to Taylor Swift. She's a global icon, okay, or whatever you want to call her. Not my type of music, but her following is undeniable. Okay, but Blake Lively all day. Blake Lively or Angie Carriker? Angie Carriker all day. Not even close. All right, I'm out of the doghouse, and I was honest. Next up, Lance. Can we talk about how bad Tony Romo is? You know, I think people are funny, and I'm people, so I'm funny sometimes too, and I don't mean in a comical way. I mean in sometimes we can be funny in how we look at things, and how we can look at things can change. People thought when Tony Romo first started announcing, he was awesome. People thought he was awesome. Okay. And one of the things I loved is you legit saw from a NFL quarterback's perspective. He'd be like, hey, they're watching this, and this. They should run this. And then they'd run the exact play, or they'd throw the exact route, or they do exactly what he had just talked about. And I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome to see it exactly how he would have seen it if he was playing. Okay. And he's just doing it for all of us to hear. And now you can see it playing out. You know, Tony seemed a little nervous. I don't know. It's a Super Bowl. I think he's a human being. I think he's allowed to. It's his 3rd Super Bowl he's called. It was Jim Nance's 7th Super Bowl. My wife, even at the beginning, was like, man, they seem a little nervous. I was like, yeah, I agree. They're humans. I can't blame them. You know? And so for me, I think Tony Romo is a good announcer. I know I may be in the minority on this Monday because what I saw on Twitter on Sunday, or X, whatever it's called now, there was not a lot of people who seemed to think that he did a great job based on the limited amount of tweets that I saw. Here's what I'll tell you. I think Tony Romo was underrated as a quarterback. Postseason play is what matters most. I think that's what people who may not be Romo fans want to bring up. I played against him. He was annoying as hell, which is my way of saying he was a really good NFL quarterback. Okay, as an announcer, I think he does a good job. Maybe nerves got to him a little bit yesterday. When I hear that Tony Romo is going to be calling a game that I'm watching, I like that. There's other folks, when I find out they're calling the games that I'm watching, I don't get as excited. Like maybe on Sunday nights throughout the season, if I just want to give you a hint, all right? But he's been doing it for God knows how long. And maybe it goes back to that 95 Orange Bowl when he basically just crapped all over Nebraska while we were playing Miami. And then once we finally won the game, he decided to say something kind about Nebraska after the game was over. So maybe I'm just prejudiced towards him because of like almost 30 years ago, that New Year's Day, and how he was that day. So when I hear him on Sunday Night Football, I'm like, oh, it's this guy. But he's been doing it for almost 3 decades. So kudos to him. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you don't have a case of the Mondays unless it's a fun day, and I hope you have a great week. Until next time, Husker Nation, go big red, and always remember to throw the bones.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry?